morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is August 28th, 2023. That is Augusta 28th, the countdown to the retirement of Augusta in 2023 is on the horizon, Bender.
Okay.
You know what that means, right?
It means you're going to continue to tell us as we get closer every single day.
Well, it's not only that. I found a leaf on the ground this morning, which means that fall should be approaching, and you morons in Texas and the Southwest might actually get temperatures below 95 degrees. What do you say about that?
Dude, it rained last night for the first time in months, and I was like beside myself. We were driving back from Gonzales. It's like 2.5. It's 104 miles. Mm-hmm. It was 110 degrees when we left Gonzales. When we hit Austin, it was still 108 on the north side of Austin. Not less than 25 miles later, it had dropped 35 degrees. It was 72 or 73 or something like that, and raining. And I was just like, oh my God, we have not seen rain and it was raining. And I was like, this is freaking amazing. Which, we were coming back from a horse race. So we had a trailer to unload, the horse to unload, all of our stuff from the weekend. And of course, that's when it decides to rain, but I don't care. I'll take it. Mm-hmm. That was the one good thing that happened this weekend. The rest of the weekend was not the best.
Well, that's too bad. That's very sad.
It was a rough one, but it ended on a high note with the rain, so I'll take it.
It's always good to have a high note. Yep. All right. Coming into the day, so we had Japan literally on fire last night to the upside. They were thumping. It's believed, I think, in a lot of ways, it's coming off the heels of maybe not additional support coming out of China as far as their economy and their markets and their businesses and all that kind of stuff. Evergrande actually resumed trading after, I think it's been over a year since they last traded. So they resumed it last night. In a lot of ways, it is what it is. We do know that is a mess over there. All of this coming off of last week's Jackson Hole speech, and then the subsequent, I would call it, mini rally up into the levels that we are now. That was basically a little bit of a continuation from Friday into this morning. We do have data coming 30 minutes after open, and I would say Wednesday is the big data day. Now, the reason why data is going to become important and why we're going to have to really pay attention to not only the data that's coming out, but also the how the market wants to react to it, because we can very well, Bender, what's the two big pieces that is constantly asked? Two big pieces. What is and is not priced in, right? Is that priced in? Is it not priced in? Okay. Or is bad data good and good data bad in regards to interest rates and the Fed moving forward? So those are going to be the questions coming off the heels of the speech. If you go back and really dig into that small little speech, he said a lot without saying too much. Basically, the key word being data dependent. I don't even think he said data dependent, but I think data dependent is really what we're looking at as far as how they're going to move forward. Commentary such as, it's a delicate balance between doing too much and not enough. That means that they recognize that, hey, man, the economy might be a little bit dicey and through here, we can't throw it off the cliff. Okay, maybe not. They're going to let the data decide, however they decide. And as we do know, they use lagging data. As we do know, they are not real quick to react to individual data points. So all of that is something that we should definitely keep in mind as we come into open, as we come and go through the week, and as we get more and more data filtering out. Bender, with this being said, you want to walk us through some of these levels? I know on the queue, we have a level in through here, this 366.50, which we just popped, that if you look at it on a 1 hour, you could have like a little head and shoulders type thing forming out after a relief rally. But looks like we're kind of maybe just a hair bit plowing through it. Um, Outside of that, man, walk us through. Show us what you got.
Yeah, let's take a look. I'm going to start with the weekly here. And the reason why is because you'll see when I zoom in a little bit that I took the wick of this weekly candle and pulled the midpoint out of it. You'll see the low as we zoom in. You'll see the low of that, or the top of the body right there where the wick starts, 44.14-ish. And you'll see the top of it as we zoom in. I want to pay attention to what happens at the midpoint of this weekly candle. Okay. So zooming into the daily. Okay, here you go. So there's that 44.14.25. And you can see that's the top of this, the body of this daily candle, right? 44.14.25. The midpoint being 44.50. And then the top of that is up here at 44.85. So if we look at the weekly, and we're trading up into the midpoint of this wick, right? If we reject that and pull back down, you've got this volume imbalance that exists on the weekly right down in here. So I'm going to leave that on the chart. Right now, these two candles right here look like maybe, possibly, we start to push up from here. Maybe. Going back to the daily, you kind of see the same thing, right? You can see that volume imbalance in here. Do they, I don't know that necessarily we are going to, go straight up from here. But maybe, just maybe, the bottom of this pullback might be in. We might be done. Time will tell. We will see. But I'm going to be tracking, again, the midpoint of that wick there, 44.50. If we get through it, then I think that there's a good chance that we trade at least up to this new week opening gap. We have a previous new week opening gap up here that starts at 44.80.25. This green area right here is a new week opening gap that we're trading up into right now. So there's kind of, you've got the top of that at 44.46, and then the midpoint of that weekly wick, 44.50. So right up in there is kind of, I think, decision time. We get up in there, right? And as I zoom into the 60-minute, you can kind of see this is that new week opening gap, previous new week opening gap. And then the midpoint of that weekly wick right there. You see the 60-minute candle. This is a 60-minute fair value gap, right up in that same area. So if nothing else, if it trades up in here, I would expect to see it pause. Maybe pull back a little bit right there. If I was long, taking this long, if I was already long, I would be looking at that area going, okay, well, if the boogeyman's going to come, this is his first opportunity. Now, if we get through that next new week opening gap is up here again, the top of that being 44.85 half, which would also take out those highs from Thursday. And then from there, there's this 60-minute fair value gap up in here that we had on the chart last week. The top of that being 45.06. And, from there you could see, once if it clears these highs from the 15th, then there's not a whole lot to stop it, right? Until it gets to that August 4th high, 40, 45, 60, 75. And if it takes that, that would be one that, if it takes that by a tick or two and then pulls back down, I would expect a deeper pullback, because at that point you've kind of taken everything out with the exception of all the way up here at 46.25.
Okay.
Let's zoom into a 15-minute. Stretch this out a little bit. And we've got Friday's close down here at 44.16. We're currently sitting 44.36.75. So, we're going to leave, as it stands, we're going to leave, a bit of a gap in here from Friday's close. Just kind of keep that in mind, that all of this is going to be a regular trading hours gap. But this 15-minute candle right here kind of being that breakout candle from the consolidation that occurred overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think if it trades below this, then, we probably target Friday's close, the Asia session low, and then potentially down into this. And this, it says regular trading hours gap. I'm going to take the text off of here because that has now been filled. But I still see this area in here as being, if we kind of scroll back a little bit, it's like, we just kind of broke through this and it's acting as a support area. But for now, I think if it trades below this blue shaded box and that becomes resistance, then we're looking at Friday's close and the Asia session lows. Those will probably get taken. But I think this candle right here is the one to watch for continued downside pressure. If we get through that, 44.08, then we're probably looking quite a bit lower.
All right. Very
So
nice.
that's what I've got. Again, kind of head on a swivel as we get, if it pushes up into this 44.50 area, this is where I would be watching for potential continuation or potential reversal. Would be kind of right in that zone.
Very good.
I don't think there's much different on the 5-minute look. Nope. So that's probably about it.
Very good. Thank you, Bender. Sonny, what you got, buddy?
Morning, everyone. So you had mentioned Japan was thumping last night and China. So China has put out a statement they're cutting taxes on stock trading. They're trying to lure in more foreign investment. They've also extended their program where, if you're a foreign worker, you get subsidized housing, free schools, subsidized meals, things like that. They've extended that also till like 2029. So China stocks have been kind of moving up since this announcement came out. Other one, Mobileye. So Fisker, FSR, they have selected Mobileye as their self-driving module. They're going to price it at $6,000 option. This is for the Polestar 4, their most selling car at this point. So that would definitely be watching on flow on that. 3M agreed to pay $5.5 billion to settle a lawsuit over the military earplugs that they had. That was hanging over their head for a bit now. So that is definitely positive for them. Fisker will start delivering their new SUV in Europe starting September. They're expecting about 20 to 23,000 units sold in 2023. It's still below their guidance, but it's still a pretty solid number for them. Name forgotten for a while, fuel cell, FCEL. So they've extended their joint carbon capture deal with Exxon. And the trucking industry is projecting an uptick in demand in the second half, which makes sense. They got to start stocking up for Christmas and whatever holidays they can sneak in between now and then. So transportation sector, if it's trucking, it has to be rail and ships and all that. So definitely keep an eye on that sector if you see any flow come in. CSX has been getting a bunch of flow the past week. Upgrades, NVIDIA, as usual. Nike. So Nike has a buy from Stifel, but they cut the price target to 135. Raymond James is outperform on Chewy, price target 33. Wells Fargo's overweight on CrowdStrike raises price target to 200. And Morgan Stanley said, well, fuck you. We're downgrading it to equal weight and price target 167. So, yeah. we'll let them fight it out. Other downgrades are DEN, LHX, UPWK Upwork. SPX numbers, just want to put it out there. So it structurally is bullish right now. Large gamma is at 44.40. 44.20 is the line in the sand for me again, but I'll be watching the floor to see which direction I want to put my play in. 44.25, 44.40 to the upside, 4400 and 43.30 to the downside on SPX. Dark pool side, we had some nice dark pools in Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, um, and UPS was pretty interesting. 168.87 on the UPS, 8% of the 30-day average. A firm had a nice dark pool at 1779, 16% of the 30-day. This one caught my eye. This used to be a runner before with Flow, MOMO. It's a $9 stock. 500,000 shares, which is 50% off the 30-day average. So I'll definitely be looking for something on that. And that's about it.
Did you cover the Meta dark pools pre-market?
No, I did not. Not I didn't see. I haven't been watching pre-market dark pools, but the meta number was 285.50 that they came out yesterday or Friday, almost 900,000 shares, which is close to 4%. So probably
Okay,
added
it
to the
looks like
same
they
target.
tacked on the onto that
Yeah.
285.50 number, and then we have a dark pool on DDOG also this morning, almost 8% of average daily. The flow into DDOG towards the end of last week was fairly caustic, so I'll be curious to watch that name as far as flow moving
Right. So
around
DDOG,
also.
yeah, it also had dark pool on Friday on DDOG.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it should probably be the same target number. Uh, so I'm thinking so. There's going to be a new IPO coming out from Databricks, which is a competitor for Datadog and Snow. So I think that could cause some movement in both of those stocks.
very good, very nice. Got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Stonkington, Paging Stonkington, what you got?
Hello, what's up? I'm here, and let's look at some stuff. I'll try and do a share and wake up and talk about it. All right, here we go. NASDAQ monthly. This is the levels that we've been talking about all last week. Watching this fair value gap on the monthly, we were saying, we've only got a couple days left here in August. Want to see that it does not close below, so we're looking pretty good there. So that's going to be something I'll have on watch this week. Just on the monthly, we've kind of filled this gap and bounce, which is looking like a pretty good sign. Then we can kind of jump in. I'll bring over the chart where I have more of the markup here. Let's see. So we've got this new week opening gap line. Almost filled it to the tick last night. I tried to buy the bottom, and they bounced it 2 ticks away from the bottom, so they didn't hit my order. But we've got this line here. I'll be watching. This is the one I've been talking about, where support. We were going to see if it became resistance. We've crossed it, so if we come back, I'd be looking for another bounce off this line, which has happened a bunch of times in the past. That's going to be that 15.21.25. For the upside, this is fair value. All this is kind of unbalanced price action from the big sell. That was the morning of the NVIDIA, after the NVIDIA ER. So first line I'll be looking at is kind of this, almost like the midpoint of this big gap, which has also been an important line in the past. That's going to be that 15.17750. And then this gap fills above at 15.33850. So there'll be kind of upside targets I'll be looking for. And then this orange box is that monthly fair value gap. So we'd be looking for, by, what do we got, 3 days left? We want to see that August closes above this 14.746 flat. So we'll kind of see what we get there on the NASDAQ. Maybe if we start stalling out, we could have a left shoulder head, maybe a right shoulder going there. We'll see what we get. If we take a look at the Russell, let's see. So we've got this purple line below that we continue to close above. This is just this kind of order block line where all the 4-hour candle bodies continue to bounce off and respect this purple line. So we've got the pink new week opening gap right there. That one also almost filled and then bounced. If we're going to push to the upside, this would be a bearish order block line. We would want to see the reaction to that 1874. You can see it's been an important level in the past, and kind of like the midpoint of this green candle right here, which we could say this was a bear that wanted to get in cheaper because it was followed by a sell. So that's why we would mark the midpoint of that line. And then upside, we've got orange box is going to be a weekly fair value gap with this one on the daily inside of it. So if we can, pop this order block line, that'll be looking for the reaction to the bottom of the weekly fair value gap, which you can see we rejected before. And then further upside, next target could be this 1900 flat area on the Russell. Let's see, for individual tickers, coin was interesting to me. If we jump over to the daily, I'm going to do this on a cleaner chart. All right, so coin, the reason that it jumped out to me here is if we go to the daily and we take this last range, this bull run that it had, we pulled back exactly to the 618 and it's found support on it. Also, it was on the dark pool list. So I think there could be a good setup here on coin. It almost looks like a little daily bear flag there. But if we continue to hold this 7240, it was also in the dark pool. I posted the dark pools in the room. We'll see what we get, but I'm going to keep a close eye for coin flow and see what we get out there. The other interesting one was BABA. We talked about the China news, and BABA was a weekly inside bar. So you could see it was pretty tight range there on BABA. And I believe I marked this one up. Where was that? Let's see. Yeah, here we go. I've got
we did see good flow come in, or we did see spec flow come into yen on Friday.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see. I have an alert here that's going to pop when BABA crosses 92 flat. It's basically, for the regular trading hours, it's already above what the weekly has shown as its high. But this 92 flat area looks pretty important on BABA. It's been rejecting around there. So we'll get an alert that pops in the room. That would be the breaking the weekly high, which basically anyone who went short last week on BABA would then go red. And then if for whatever reason, if we pull back on BABA, we'll get a pop in the room as well to say that we broke the lower side of the weekly inside bar.
Hey, Stunk, so 92.17 and 92.85 has very large dark pools on BABA.
Nice. Okay, yeah, so it's coming up to some important stuff. We'll see what we get. I think that's all I have.
All right, very good. So this is our day. I think we did a pretty good job of breaking down last week into this week, some of the action that's out there. AMD flow is one that I'm going to be watching for semis in particular. It was fairly bearish on Friday as far as some of that activity going out this week. And then next week, some of those lines were definitely sub 100. So want to keep an eye on that flow to see how it reacts and it moves. If I were to play gun to head within the moment, I think we get a pullback and they level out some of this upside a little bit before we move higher. That's what I'm going to be looking for, not necessarily to short it, but to look for an area below to buy for a bounce if we do get a bounce. I think flow is going to be absolutely vital coming after Jackson Hole. Are we going to see some 7-digit flow smacking out, let's say October? Are we going to see that? Are we going to see more of this weekly price action that really doesn't give a lot of direction? Either way, the choice is there for us as far as how we want to trade it. You either trade it with a very narrow timeline, and you trade your chart intraday, or you look further out and see whether or not you want to actually build a position, whether it be up or down going into the end of the year. Either way, the choice is yours. Thanks, fellas. I don't have anything else. You guys have anything you want to add?
Well, the only thing that I'll add is that, if we go back to there's a 4-hour. We go back to when we were banging up against the top of this channel, and the game plan was, looking for a pullback, towards the end of August, for a potential buy area to load back in on some names. And I've said I've started doing that. So that game plan for me, still remains intact. At this point, if we come back down here and find ourselves, really at this point, I wouldn't want to see us, under 43.80, because that would kind of tell me that, we're going to come down here and take out some of this stuff under 43.50 potentially.
But that
and
would, at the same time, that would be a very definitive, moment in time if we were to come down and bounce off of that again.
Yeah.
Like extremely definitive as far as, being able to make that move to the upside in a real fashion.
Yep. Well, hopefully, Flow will provide, some insight into, whether or not we're done with the pullback. The fact that we took out those lows from back in June, swept all that, pulled back up, and all of this happening in that 50 to 61.8% pullback area. Hopefully Flow will give us some clues. I'll tell you the other thing that I want to make sure not to lose sight of, and just, Sun, this is probably, right up your alley, is keeping track of if there's any insider trades that come out from, Zuckerberg, Nadella, those guys. Mainly because, if we go back to the monthly, when we were up here banging 49.30 and we got this pullback and then bounce, it was right in here. Those guys were selling decent sized positions, right? So now we've had this nice bounce. If we start to see those trades again, for me, that will be an alarm.
Yeah, and
that would be alarming,
because this is also quarterly OPEX.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
something to watch.
That's about all I got.
All right, everyone.
All right, so
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just got your DM.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I was sitting there. I'm like sitting here frantically sitting in my chair. But yeah.
Yeah, go for it. So that's about it. We got 11 minutes till open. It's a long week. Don't try to get it all done in one day. Take your time, pick your trades, stay green. For those of you in Discord, we'll see you shortly. For those that aren't, we'll see you tomorrow. See ya.